Hi everyone, good morning. This review is coming out in the morning. In the evening, I will have a Solaris video ready for you, but in the meantime, you're probably wondering why it's a black screen. That's because I want to explain something before we begin. From now on, I'm going to review games that are worth buying. If it's a First Forte, it's probably not worth buying. And honestly, that's good enough for me. I'm going to explain why it's not worth buying, and you'll know the difference. Because a First Forte, aka a First Impression, isn't here to review a bad game. It's here to say, this game is bad, avoid spending money on it, here's all the reasons why. And if you can get over those reasons, go ahead. This, however, is a game review. That means that the game is probably worth our time. So, let's get into it. Hi. Welcome to Spaceship Breaker. That is so hard to say. This opening cutscene is fantastical. It was the first thing I saw, and I'm like, they know what they're selling. They know what they're selling. What are they selling? It's disassemble Legos in space, but without the Lego part. You're given salvaging gear, sent out, and told to salvage ships as a dream job that will reward you with millions of credits, aka space bucks. What they don't tell you is this opening sequence where you're going to be indebted to the company for $1.3 billion and be making no money until you pay it all back. And then the company is renting you the equipment which you have to pay for. You have to pay for oxygen, thrusters, thruster fuel, demo charges, repair kits, which repair kits do come free if you make the top tier salvage goals. Welcome to Hard Spaceship Breaker. It's gonna be a hard life. Also, they expect you to die. A lot. So they have replacement clones available that you have to pay for every time you die. And death does not end your shift. I'm giving you an example on screen here as I've rigged this ship to blow. Whoops. I'm not sure if the fire killed me, if the liquid nitrogen killed me, or if the force of the impact from the explosions did. But I'm very dead. And then the shift continues as though I didn't die. Yeah, I totaled this ship on purpose to show you just how abysmally crazy capitalist libertarian all this shit is. And I know I'm not a political channel, but damn! This game's story has a statement. And at the same time, the gameplay itself is fun. You are picking apart a puzzle. Your puzzle begins, as you can see on screen, with a new ship. You need to figure out how to get into the ship. Sometimes they're pressurized cabins that will blow airlocks and can send you flying off into the depths of space. Or worse, the depressurization, if it's not done correctly, can crush you. Or you might find that it's just better to depressurize the hard way. You have to deal with dangerous reactors. Level 1 reactor, simple. Pull it, get it out of here before it melts down and kills you in the process. Level 2 reactor, oh boy, you've got to disassemble that thing piece by piece, detaching thrusters, and then getting the encasing off of it, and then getting the coolant out of it, and then you can pull it. And all the while you're doing this, you have to plan how to pull it so that you have a clear shot to get to that salvage barge. You have to constantly check items to figure out, does this go in the processor, did this go in the furnace, or does this go on the barge? Over and over again. And it would seem repetitive, but it's not. Each and every ship may look the same outside as another ship. Like the Mackerel series of ships may all look the same outside, but the moment you open them up inside, they'll have completely different configurations. Here on this ship, I thought, I'll open the Mackerel the normal way I do, and that's just crack the cockpit and go on in. But my laser cutter hit something, and now there's electrical charges going everywhere, and suddenly there's an explosion. I have no idea what detonated. I didn't even get to it in time before it did. Other times you'll find that maybe you missed a cut point and you need to go back and find it. The basic mechanics of the game are this. Everything you destroy on the ship, you don't get to salvage. At best, it goes in the furnace. At worst, it's completely disintegrated. Everything that you can cut on the ship is usually the cut points which the company designates across the vessel to tell you, you can cut here. We are willing to give up this salvage to get the rest of it. And therefore you have designated cut points. You will learn what goes where very quickly, and you'll get more and more and more efficient. At this point, I can tear apart a medium or small size ship in 2 days. 2 shifts. The shifts are 15 minutes. You're on the clock immediately. And that's part of it. How do you manage when to go back and get oxygen? How do you manage when to go back and get thruster fuel? Do you manage your thruster fuel properly? Do you manage your oxygen properly so you don't get into these tense moments where you can hear your character breathing harder because their heart rate's up? And with those tense moments comes a change in the game's vibe. You go from this casual, taking your time, picking your spots, cutting them, getting through the system, making the ship go, so to speak, and tear itself apart to, oh shit, something's wrong. I need to figure out what. Whether it be something on fire, an electrical signal, nitrogen, or, oh look, this reactor's 2 ticks from going kablooey and taking me with it. Radiation is another hazard, and you have up to level 3 reactors, which are the most complicated, as you have to disassemble multiple thrusters, you have to cut pipes, and you have to disconnect a generator, and then you have to take out the coolant before you can ever attempt to remove the reactor itself. This game has so many little intricacies, and it adds them very gradually at your pace. As soon as you get used to something, it adds something new that you have to take into consideration, and you still have to remember all the old and retain all the old skills. Then there's just the fact it's fun. It literally is just fun. The game has no right to be this good. You can see on the ships how the crew lived, who was probably living here by the posters up on the wall. You find data banks to give you information about the setting and the world, as well as to give you information about the crew itself, or give you little mini stories to read. You go through the ship looking for parts to put on your own ship so you can finish repairing what is effectively a heap that should have been bound for the scrapyard. The story is a story about escalation. The company has put the workers in a position that is unfair and wrong. You signed up to work for them and they put you $1.3 billion in debt in hopes you will never work it off by the constant charges they rack up against your account. They charge you for every little thing, including those ship parts you just saw me salvage, will be on the list of things the company's docking my pay for. You'll find that on some days you salvage 3 million worth of ship parts and the company docked you $1 million. Other days you salvage 6 or 7 when you get really good and the company is still docking you $1 million. The story is also told through radio chatter exclusively. You get a character portrait that doesn't actually move, but the way the voice actors put into it, and I must emphasize this as we get into talking about sound design, the game's sound design is phenomenal. Over the top, absolutely wondrous. The voice actors put in the work. You can tell that they did. You can appreciate them that they did.
Hey, are you all around? Seriously, what is with this guy? I honestly can't tell if he's a sociopath or just incompetent.
He's like extremely intimidating.
Should we reach out for some support.
What kind of support you thinking?
Like, technical support?
You will come to hate the company man. You will come to feel pity for Kai. You will come to have sympathy for Lou and Rosa. And you will become to respect Spaceship Breaker Dad Weaver as Spaceship Breaker Dad, because you will constantly look up to him for advice and things to do. Moreover, the game tells a story as if it's the 1910s and you need to unionize all over again from scratch. And it tells it through these radio comms, and it keeps you wanting to hear more and more about these individual people and what they think and why you would despise the company and the company man and why you come to sympathize with the workers. It's fantastical writing, great delivery by the voice actors, and the director knew exactly how much to put in and how much to leave out during each shift. Further, the music. When I said that it makes you feel something, the music is there. And I looked at how it was done, and they have it multi-overlaid and then zone AoE'd. What do I mean by this? You start out and you're hearing like the country guitar and the light kind of just rift that lets you drift into space and lose yourself. You'll find that you end up playing this for a lot longer than you intended to. I only intended to record an hour of footage, and Ginger has 3 hours to go through to figure out what he wants to include in this review. Hi, Ginger. I love you. The way it's presented is this multi-tuned area. So when you're in a dangerous, the closer you get to a dangerous area, the music gets louder and louder and louder for that dangerous area, and it eventually overlaps and replaces the guitar with this tense, rapid piano keyboard combination that goes back and forth, that's trying to get your heart up to let you know, hey, you're in a bad spot. Figure it out quick before things go wrong. And on the flip side of that, you have what is called the initiation point of that danger. So what they've done is they've perfectly overlaid the two soundtracks. And the game gets you in the routine habit of a person doing this job. They went through a lot of work and effort to make it feel alive. You decorate your hab as you see fit with posters that you want up there. The company in the game starts with posters for corporate propaganda, but you can grab posters off ships and put up the ones you want to have up. It's nice like that. I can't emphasize this enough. The game just has a vibe. When you're in the zone, when you've got it just right, when you know that the salvage is going to work. That exhilaration moment as you place a demolition charge and check it and make sure it's in the right spot, and then you pull back and you pull the trigger and you watch the two parts that you set up float away. And it's perfect. As you go through and cut the entire inside of the ship on one day and come back on the next shift and immediately bang, 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 all the payout all at once as all the valuable parts get pulled into the barge, rapid fire by tethers. Or when you've tethered one object and you see it going towards the processor and you're like, no, that's supposed to go too. So you tether them together and you create a daisy chain, and you just watch something like the opening cutscene where suddenly all of these panels rip off and fly into the correct place. And it's this constant it's not massive dopamine drips. It's not massive rushes. It's little ting, ting, ting in your brain as you get part A into slot B over and over and over and over and over again until you get to the point that you're like, I'm going to perfect this next ship. And then disaster. And how you deal with that disaster is up to you. And the ship variety in terms of shape, component composition, and position of things on the ship is insane. You could be taking apart a military scout or a military corvette to a transport ship that's just a luxury cruise liner with rows and rows of seats, to a science ship that's got a hydroponics bay that I accidentally just blew up. Shit. And then figuring out how to keep your salvage goal. You have to salvage little things, lights, to big things, generators and reactors, to just the outer hull itself. Every single part of the ship has a place that it needs to go. And you need to put it there. And then you have to decide things like, is it worth not salvaging this part and ripping out the wiring or ripping out the hydraulic press for the ship I'm trying to rebuild outside my hab block? Now, I'm not going to keep going and spoil the story for you, but I am going to say it's fantastically written, and the finale to the story, I'm going to tell you right now, the finale is something you should not do until you are ready to end your game. Because when you do the finale, all the other story beats are gone. You choose when to do the finale. Once you get to a certain part in the story, you choose when it happens. And you can continue on as long as you want before it happens. But you may not want to end it just yet. You may want to see what else the story has in store for you all the way up until the very end. Or you might not want to side with the workers at all, and you might just be here to do your 9 to 5 and tear ships apart and get yourself out of debt. But I will say this, the story's conclusion is immensely the most satisfying moment ever, because you've been taking these ships apart, you've been extremely delicate with them, and then the finale comes and, spoiler, you get to just unleash, and it's far too much fun. But I don't have any footage for that, and I'm not going to explain to you how you just get to unleash, because it's important not only what you're going to unleash, how, but on who. And I don't want to spoil that for you. I will say this. This game is excellent. Now, I do have some complaints. Occasionally, some of the pixels and position of things on screen don't quite work, so you've cut it. It's clearly cut, but the game hasn't registered it's cut because there's this combination of pixels that are technically aligned even though they're not touching each other, and it's saying that that object is still attached. This happens sometimes. The physics can be a little wonky, especially with the thruster columns. You'll always want to pull your tethers on the thruster columns for the back, because otherwise they just get hung, and there's this little outcropping on the side that will absolutely just hang it into a processor and not let it move, and it just becomes a pain in your ass. The other problems I have with the game, this is a game that needs multiplayer and big ship. Like, I understand your normal career mode probably shouldn't be necessarily multiplayer all the time, but I really feel like if this game had multiplayer, it would absolutely be top tier, Queen's Crown, absolutely the best thing I've played in the last 6 months. It is one of the best games I have played in the last 6 months, but because it lacks the multiplayer, because sometimes the physics are a little wonky, I can't quite give it that, yeah, you win. There's nothing I have bad to say about you. I think the number one most requested feature is multiplayer, by the way, because being able to tear apart a ship with your friends and having to coordinate that so that your friend doesn't tear a panel off at the wrong moment, or your other friend doesn't blow a demo charge and you're inside underneath that part, and then suddenly your ears are ringing. And they explain how you can hear in space is that the suit you're wearing is simulating the sound as if it were in a pressurized atmosphere. And you can upgrade that so you can hear things from further away, which becomes important later in the game when you're having to deal with lots and lots of moving parts all at once, to be able to hear the things you can't see and go, wait, that didn't sound right. That becomes hyper important. All your little equipment upgrades are there, so you have the baseline, and then as you upgrade and as your skill as a player improves, you'll notice you're salvaging ships faster and faster and faster, and at max upgrades, you don't even have to refill your oxygen tank every shift. You can just not, so long as you're not high stress the whole time. it's just built in such a way that you can play the entire game with no upgrades. And then the option to play casual mode, standard mode, or to play with only 30 lives, or play with a single life. And not go into the life preserver program, and instead you have one shot. And then the pressure of every single cut is felt. It's just a fantastical idea. And the fact that it keeps the career separate. So you can pick which one. So you could have your kids playing on casual mode. You could be playing on 30 life mode. And your significant other could be in here for their super hard challenge. I am playing on I have one life. And that is all I have to give. Hard Spaceship Breaker. It is one of the best games I've ever played. It has better than any right it has to be this good. It really is. It's like RimWorld in that respect. You wouldn't think a colony management sim like RimWorld would be as good as it is. And then it's like, no, RimWorld is so good it never goes on sale. Because the game sells itself. And you just have to pause and think to yourself, huh, neat. But that's all I have to say about this game. I hope that some of you will decide that it's worth playing, because it's a very nice, very relaxing game. I know a couple people have bought it after I showed it off on stream already and are just like, this is just fun. It is. It is just fun. That's everything I have, guys. Make sure you hit the like button and leave a comment. What are your thoughts on tearing ships apart? That's what I want to know. And before any of you ask, I sent Ginger a screenshot of my achievements so you can see that, yes, in fact, I played this game almost all the way through. I didn't quite get out of debt at the end. This has been Fiaura. Thank all these lovely people because they helped me do this, and I need more of them. Honestly, Patreon is my only secure source of income right now, and the more of it I have, the more I can do for you guys. Up next on our review list, Cosmeteer. And then, Pal World. Yeah, I'm reviewing it. But first we gotta take a look at another space game. One that I honestly thoroughly enjoyed. See you next time. And see you on stream tomorrow. And for Stellaris this evening. Good night, everybody.